let's learn something really quick.
If you got the time, absolutely. And you got the discipline, there's no question about it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great practice to put into your everyday life, you guys.
You generally regret the things you don't do, not the things you did do. Let me say it that way.
Mic drop. This was just awesome. I love meeting my guests in person, and it's a whole nother animal, and the energy is just electric. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is one of my favorites. He is a corporate refugee. He was in corporate sales for a SaaS company. He is now the founder and CEO of Talently, which focuses on remote employees from South Africa. Please welcome Dan Seligman.
There you go. Bang on. That sounds like it was well rehearsed, but I think you go off the cuff. You're just a natural with that. So I appreciate the warm welcome. Excited to be here. And I've never been referred to as a corporate refugee, but I might need to borrow that term from you and use it in my common language. So I appreciate the labeling that you put to that, because I do feel like I was part of that world before. Now I'm a refugee into the entrepreneurial world, and I'm never looking back.
I love it. So I got that corporate refugee from a guest many years ago, and it just resonated with me, because I feel like a lot of people that I do talk to that come from corporate, it's like they escaped that grind, and they found they had a calling bigger than corporate. So let's just hear a little bit about your journey of kind of leaving corporate and starting your own thing, because what you do is very, very interesting, and you found a niche in the market for talent to help companies solve that problem.
Yeah, for sure. I can give it, and you gave the very high level of it. I'll give a little context and detail. So it's just for the listeners and viewers to know, I'm based here in Toronto, Canada. So the nice Canadians to the north. But
they are very nice. I love Canada.
Exactly. I wouldn't say all, but the majority of us are pretty nice. But my background for over a decade, as you said, I was in B2B SaaS sales, and I started my career bottom of the rung, as most people do. Graduated from university, college, didn't know what I wanted to do, had a business background, a business degree, went into sales. I'm a personal person. I'm a good talker and a relationship builder, and I went into software sales specifically. But when you join, you're entry level, you're a cold caller, you're just getting your feet wet, and it's tough. But over the past decade, I grew from an SDR or junior account executive in a SaaS company here in Toronto to a VP of sales, an executive role with another company here in Toronto over about a decade. And throughout that process, you learn so much, you grow a lot, and you sort of develop skills. But for me, and sort of to go into our story now with Talently, is I always had this sort of thought in the back of my head that I wanted to start my own business.
Yeah.
I never knew what it was going to be. I never knew when it was going to happen, but I always had that idea, and I always tinkered on the side. And now I've been running Talently for the past year, and it's the best decision I ever made. And when I came across your podcast and why I wanted to reach out, I forget where I saw it. I was watching someone else's podcast on YouTube. Yours came up as recommended.
Oh, cool.
And I watched an episode, and the concept of labels is unfortunately very real in the world, especially in business. Is you're an employer, you're an employee, you're a junior, you're a senior. You sort of fall in this ranking of the business world. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that suits people, but sometimes it's not. And for me, I always labeled myself as an employee, and I made my way up the employee ranks. I played the game, I kissed ass, I got my raises and got my titles and stuff like that. But now I've taken the leap from being an employee to an employer and a founder, being the most exciting, invigorating time of my life. And I think there's so many people out there that have that inclining and thought of doing it. And I think speaking to people like you, or at least sharing my story, hopefully will help other people start their own business. And it's not for everyone, but for that small group that wants to start their own business and take that risk and sort of shoulder that load, it's the best thing you can ever do. And it's the best thing that happened to me. So I think it's an amazing podcast you're running, and hopefully the audience gets something out of it.
Thank you for that. Well, I think that you faced a fear, because it had to be a little scary to take that leap. A lot of people probably have, I would say there's a lot of people out there that have a dream or an idea or want to do something, but they're just scared to take that risk, right? And I look at it what can you lose, right? There's always going to be other jobs. If you have a skill set that's going to be valuable anywhere, right? There's plenty of companies hiring all the time. And if you don't take that risk, You're going to lose out on the opportunity of what you could possibly turn it into. So
Yeah.
what was that like for you when you made that decision to start Talently and just take the jump? Because from corporate to entrepreneurship, it's very scary.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it gets scarier and scarier, right? They have the term the golden handcuffs. It's like the longer you're with a company and the further up you go in these companies, you make more money, you get more stock options, you get more RSUs, you get more things that incentivize you to stay there, and you get a lot of security. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest thing that people hold on to is like pay and finance, but also security and stability compared to risk and sleepless nights. But for me, I think the calling was so long, and I think it really had to do with connection to an idea. And I started a bunch of side hustles and businesses on the side. Some of them never got off the ground. Some of them made money, but none of them really clicked and felt like the right thing. And for me as an entrepreneur, the way that I thought about it, which I think was super helpful for me when I tried to figure out what I wanted to do, is I actually knew what I didn't want.
There you go.
I didn't want to carry a lot of inventory. So e-commerce and those businesses were out. I didn't want to be geographically limited. I didn't want to only be able to sell or work with clients in Toronto. I wanted to be able to sell globally and get clients anywhere. I wanted to be able to work from home. I have 3 little kids. I want to have that flexibility to work remote. And once you start building these things out, you sort of start crossing things off your list of what realistically can't be done.
Yeah.
I came from the VC software world where it was a sort of constant treadmill of going to raise money and trying to grow your business and then raise money and grow your business. And I didn't want to be in that world because when you go and raise capital, you now have another boss. You have to report to your investors. So I want to be my own boss. I didn't want to raise money, didn't want to have inventory. I wanted to be able to work remotely. I wanted to be able to sell across the world. And this was the business that I landed into because it was a direct correlation to what I had exposure to in my last company.
Yeah.
I saw an opportunity in a shortcoming in that world, and then I went and started the business. And I can speak specifically about what the business is, but just to your point about when the lead came, after I gained skills for over a decade, I understood what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and can apply that to my own world. But the other side of it was understanding what I didn't want. And then that helped you really narrow down the scope of what I do want. And that's what made me land on Talent.
For sure. And I think that's a key thing to mention, because I think sometimes people they want to become an entrepreneur, but they don't know which direction to go, and to really identify what you don't want is a great way to put together a roadmap, to get to where you want to go. And I think that's a great example for anyone listening that is considering becoming an entrepreneur. Like that, just like if you're dating, the pros and the cons.
It's true, but it's also from exposure, right? If you're in dating, you don't know who you like until you start meeting with people and speaking to people. In business, you don't know what you like or what you're attracted to until you either try it or expose yourself to it. If you go walk down the street, you can see every single business. You'll see a billboard for real estate agencies. You'll walk by a restaurant, you'll see how does this business operate? What are the margins? What's the revenue? What are the client base like? How much demand is for it? And I think if you start shifting your brain to that and look at everything as a business, you'll become more aware of your surroundings and what's good and bad or suits your personality and doesn't suit your personality. And that will help you a ton in your journey if you do have this desire. And I think that's a really important thing. It's employment and becoming an employer, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what's the right fit for you and what's going to make you happy, because at the end of the day, you got to wake up every day and be happy with what you do, or you're going to be miserable no matter what. And if you're waking up right now and you're absolutely miserable, either find joy in what you're doing or switch what you're doing. And if you can't do one of those two things, that's a miserable life to live. And it's not one that I wanted to sign up for. Not to say that I was miserable. I loved what I did. I liked the people I worked with, companies and stuff like that. But I'm much happier and more fulfilled now running my own business.
I love that. And that's, amen to that. And you kind of mentioned it, you being in SaaS skills really kind of set you up for success with what you do now, because what you do now is very similar. Is it not?
Yeah. So 2 things. I think one, it gave me the base of how to run a business, how to generate demand, how to deal with customers, how all that kind of stuff. And you think back and it's I should have started this business when I graduated from college. I didn't know shit when I graduated from college. Yeah. I wouldn't have the skill set. I wouldn't have been successful. Maybe I would have. Maybe it's taken long. Maybe I would have failed on my face and I would have been scared about entrepreneurship forever. I actually believe in going to get a job, learning, understand what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. But the other side of that is, yes, it helped me gain the skills, but it also helped me gain exposure to things that I run and what my business is doing now. So just to give my business in a nutshell and what it means is my background. I've always been in VC-backed tech companies, which means that we had investors, we had decent money in the bank, we get nice laptops, nice offices, we get lunch in our offices, and all this fancy stuff. It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
The most recent company I was with was not VC-backed; it was bootstrapped. So we never raised any outside capital. And the tech world has sort of used this term bootstrapping as just a fancy term, but it essentially means that you're poor.
Right. Yeah.
You got no money,
Right.
cash strapped.
Yeah, everything they get, they're
Exactly. And you have to grow very strategically. And this was my first exposure to this type of environment. And for us, which is, again, exposure to me, is like we were a remote first company. Most of the people were based here in Canada, but we had employees that worked for us all around the world. We had people in Brazil, we had people in Spain, Romania, we had people in Pakistan, we had people all over the world. And that was my first exposure to using and working with employees in other countries.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
People were super smart. They work super hard. But from a business perspective, the economy is that there's a lot of salary arbitrage around the world.
Sure.
US, Canada, UK, all these markets are very, very expensive. But why can't you find a video editor for this podcast in Brazil that costs half the price because that's the living cost in Brazil, whatever it may be. And that was my exposure to this world in terms of the benefits, but it also was my exposure, going back to my point about learning, to the problems.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw an opportunity. And for me, there was like, when it came to using offshore staff, so if you're a Canadian or American company and you're looking to hire people remotely, there was two major issues that we ran into, or I ran into personally, and that's what I went to go solve. And for me, the biggest problem was language barrier.
Okay. Yeah.
Every country we worked with, English wasn't their first language, and no discredit to them, but that just wasn't what it was. And our clients spoke English, we spoke English, and that was a friction point. And then the second part was really business acumen and critical thinking skills. Is some people aren't wired and don't grow up in a business environment. Some people, like people in Spain, take the summer off and just don't work that long. So it's different business acumen, and that created a lot of friction as well. So I went out to go solve this problem. Actually, when I started the business, my initial hypothesis was like, hey, the world's global, everyone works remote.
Yeah.
I'm going to find you talent anywhere in the world. And I had recruiting teams and people set up in 10 different countries.
Oh, wow.
Horrible idea. Logistically, it was a mess. Payments were a mess. Time zones were a mess. Horrible idea. But what I realized quickly is my first sort of tranche of clients, they were all attracted to and interested into speaking to candidates from one country, South Africa.
Okay.
So I said, screw this. We're getting rid of everyone else. We're going all in on South Africa. And when I take a step back and think about it, it makes a ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
South Africans, one, native English-speaking country. English is their first language. Everyone speaks perfect English. Everyone has these beautiful accents.
Yes.
Two, it's super well, like highly educated country. 7 of the top 10 universities in the entire continent of Africa are in South Africa. So the education level is super high. And then 3, it's the business hub of Africa. So Johannesburg and Cape Town are huge business hubs. So people grow up in a business environment, are expected to be in business, and that's just sort of the regular way of the world there. Unfortunately for South Africans, and South Africa as a country, their economy is not great, and their currency is extremely volatile and losing value all the time. So there's very limited job opportunities, but also it's actually better for a lot of these people to work for foreign companies because some of the roles are safer or pay better or whatever it may be. So we're really just creating that connection of like, hey, the North American companies get amazing talent for way cheaper, 50, 60, 70% cheaper than local talent. The South Africans get access to new jobs, new opportunities are going to pay them better and provide better security. And 3, we have a business model built into that. So it's a win-win-win. It's a trifecta for everybody. And we've seen that really quickly. Like we have, I don't know, 15 5-star reviews online. Like all of the clients are so excited about working together. Like it's really a win-win-win. And that's a nice thing about business as well, is like, I'm not trying to like oversell anything. Like the candidates speak for themselves. They tell you how great they are. If it's a match, great. If it's not a match, like no skin off anyone's back. So it really feels great to provide value to both sides of our client base and our business, because that's the lifeblood of your business. If you're not getting value from your clients, you're not providing value from your service and people you're connecting with, then your business is going to die pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. So now I would have, like for me, have labels on working with people in South Africa. 100%. I would have no idea or was not educated on their education, didn't know that English was their first language. And I knew that it's a more of like it's more of a poor country, but just like, and being in a business environment as well. Like, so you just completely took away any labels that I had on, like,
Yeah.
with people over there. And what a great way to solve a problem, like, if not only for your clients, but over there too, and helping those people have a better life, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. No, you brought up a great point. Is like that is our client base. So our client base is pretty much two clients. We have like a group of clients that I've done, like, hire people offshore, and they know what it looks like, and they have people in the Philippines or Pakistan or India or South Africa or wherever it may be.
Yeah.
And they get that world, and they get the pros and cons, and those people are just looking to add more, upgrade their whatever they're doing today. And then the other bucket is similar to what you said. It's like people who've maybe heard of it or thought about the concept, but don't even know where to start or what to expect. And good point that you brought up is I didn't even really consider that as a label, but yeah, it's a label of like non-exposure to the offshoring. And that's a big thing for us as a business. Is like our number one priority is to, one, provide value to both sides of of our business, but two, like, break down the barriers of like, what is this, or why would I trust this person? And really, from our perspective, we make it very simple for our clients, because to you, if you were looking for a video editor, you're like, why would I hire someone in South Africa? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So we take all the work away from our clients. So for all of our clients right now, on average, we have a recruiting team and structure that we go out. On average right now, we source about 200 qualified people per job.
Wow.
I know, a lot of people, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the problem is, how do you find the good 200 within there? So we have a system built in where we do resume screenings, resume matchings, questionnaires, and then we do skill testing assessments. And that usually narrows it down to the top. Right now, our pass rate is about 6%. So we end up from 200 to like 10 to 12 really good candidates. Then we interview all of them, make sure they're legit, their communication skills are good, their backgrounds check out. And then we literally go in and handpick the best 2 to 5 candidates for you as an individual client, because every client wants something different. But in that selection process, we put it all in a short list, and we summarize the personal information, the professional information, the resume. And most importantly, we get every candidate to record a 2-minute video introduction.
Oh, I love that.
And now you get to meet them, hear their own story, because that's how you're going to work with these people. You have to be able to hear them and speak them and sort of touch them virtually. But that's really, to your point about those labels, like, that's how we break down these barriers, where it creates trust, creates understanding, a common bond, common language. And that's really been a huge trigger for us in the business.
How savvy of you. You found such a niche for companies that, you know, I don't care like how much technology takes over. You still need people to do work, right? You're still going to need critical thinking individuals to do the work, to offer customer service, and just, you know, you're always going to need people. And to find a solution that technology has made it possible. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. If you started this business 50 years ago, it wouldn't exist. And it's interesting because this industry and the idea of offshoring employees has been around for decades and decades. Like when you call into AT&T or Amex, that person is not sitting in New York.
No.
They're sitting in Pakistan or India or wherever it may be. So
and those people don't always speak the best English. Let's just be real.
Exactly. That's the truth. So it's interesting. This concept has been around forever, but it's always been with the Fortune 500s, because they have the finances and ability and legal to set up a corporation there, or head up a recruiting team, or like whatever. They have the risk tolerance to do it. But now, and there's no way around it, COVID has sped up this concept. People were offshoring roles before COVID, but COVID has introduced a comfort to remote work. And now if you're in Chicago, I'm in Toronto, we could work together.
Yeah.
But what happens if I move to Bali, Indonesia?
Yeah.
We can still work together. It doesn't make a difference
sure.
as long as I have an internet connection. So it's interesting that it makes it very easy to people for work connection in the same country, a neighboring country, or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And COVID has ruined a lot of businesses, but it also has helped a lot of businesses. And my industry that I play in is definitely on the pro side of COVID, which was an unfortunate event, but it has evolved and changed the world forever. And you either have to ride that wave and adjust to it, or you're going to miss out on opportunities.
Yeah. Well, it definitely helped me too, because now my show, I talk to people all over the world, you know, and I'm global. And so I like just to think about some of like how many people I talk to in a day that are from different countries is just so, to me, it's just so cool. Like, I just love that I have that ability to talk to someone in Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, you know, New Jersey, you know, it's just like, I love that idea. And I think that COVID did make it more real that we are going to be more connected globally. And that was one positive, that came out of COVID, to know that we are all connected that way, and we're able to work with each other around the world because of technology. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's changed a lot of things in life, and I like to look at. I'm a glass half full kind of guy,
Yes,
so I
me
like
too.
to look at
Absolutely.
positives for sure. And your story is amazing. That was the other thing I wanted to connect about. Is like saw your podcast recommended on YouTube, and then I checked out your website. I read your story, and like unbelievable. Like speaking about evolution and change, like you've
Yes.
gone through everything, right? Like you had the story of your family growing up, and then you had businesses with your late husband, and then you got into fashion, and now you're in media. So you were like a living, breathing proof of evolution and sort of rolling with the tides and making it happen, which is super impressive. So kudos to you. But yeah, it's part of business, and that's the other thing about entrepreneurship. It's like this is the evolution of my business today. This is the evolution of your business today.
Yeah.
If you think you know what your business is going to look like in a year,
You don't.
you're ignorant and you're lying to yourself because things change very quickly. And the best thing you can do as a business owner is try to change with it.
Absolutely, just to evolve, right? And I think that's like the key to your success is learning how to evolve and change with the times. Like I think that's like one great point right there. So Dan, how do people work with you? So if someone's listening to this, they're like seeing the show on YouTube and they're like, oh, hey, this sounds like a great option for my company. What does that look like when you not only like, I guess maybe vet the companies, but also you already explained vetting the potential workforce in South Africa, but what does that look like when you start working with someone?
Yeah, for sure. So we call it custom search. So for every client, so you as a media company, we have clients that are accounting firms, we have clients that are software companies. Everyone wants something different. So we do that process that I spoke about from 200 to the top 2 to 5.
Yep.
That custom 2-week search process for every single one of our clients. So in 2 weeks, on average right now, we'll be able to go and source 200 qualified people, vet them, screen them, bring it down to the top 2 to 5 candidates for you. And then it's up to you to interview them, run them through your process. And then we take care of and walk you through like the contract and payroll process as well.
Sure.
So from start to end, from saying like, hey, Dan, I need X role, an accountant, an assistant, a virtual assistant, a marketing manager, whatever it may be. Takes us 2 weeks to source it, a couple of days for you to interview, then offer, they have to quit their job, start with you. So it takes anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks from start to end. But from our end of it, it's relatively straightforward. Our roles start with, just so everyone knows, like the salary range in South Africa. Like our roles start from anywhere like 2,500 US a month for a full-time employee. So every employee will work for you on your time zone, 9 to 5, $2,500 a month, which includes our compensation and our services. And that includes, with most employees we place are getting anywhere from like a 10 to 20, 25% salary increase compared to working for companies in South Africa. So the roles start at 2,500, they go up from there, but we've placed anyone from like senior accountants to managers and directors and heads of departments. So the talent level is incredible. South Africa is a country of 66 million people. There's tons of really, really smart, talented people there.
So do you work almost like a temp service where you're getting your fee and then you're paying the talent overseas?
Yeah, so we have 2 models actually. So we have a recruiting model. So that's just like any other recruiting firm. It's like a one-time recruiting payment. And really it's dependent on the client and what model makes sense for you. So if our clients already have offshore employees and they already are comfortable using international contractor agreements and international payroll and stuff like that, then they'll take care of that. And a recruiting model is the simplest because we specialize in South Africa. We'll do all the legwork to be able to go find the talent. We charge a one-time recruiting fee. It's 20% of the annual salary that the clients pay us, and then they take care of the paperwork and payroll. Alternatively, we have clients, going back to my point about the 2 buckets, that don't know how to do contractor agreements or local employment agreements, foreign payroll and stuff like that. So we actually have a company in South Africa that will employ the employees. So we take care of the employment contracts. We have South African banking systems set up and payroll. So we take care of payroll. We even have an office in Johannesburg where we can give them a desk, a laptop, monitor, headset. We have managers there, all that kind of stuff. So it really is client dependent. We have some clients that want people to work in office. We have some clients that want us to take care of the employment agreements and payroll. And we have some clients that just say, hey, we'll take care of everything. We just need you to go find the amazing talent in South Africa. So we have a couple of different business models depending on our clients, but that's pretty much it.
Very impressive.
Get the talent and then figure out the paperwork. You take care of it. We take care of it. It doesn't really matter as long as we're finding great people. And luckily for us, the talent in South Africa is world class.
For sure. Well, I mean, you're solving many problems, and I think it's just amazing. I love how just smart your business model is. Now, is there a cap on how many employees you will find for a company? So let's say they want to put up a complete call center, like it's a larger, medium-sized business. Can you do that? Do you have the capacity or the capabilities to do that for them?
So I guess two answers to that. Short answer is yes. We have the capabilities, we have the team, we have the space to do that. The other side of that is also I strategically made the decision to not get into the call center telemarketing business.
Yeah.
And in this world of offshoring, and we're very transparent with clients, like if you go out and say, hey, I need the cheapest person to make 1,000 phone calls a day, or I need the cheapest person to do this. South Africa is not the cheapest market. The reason AT&T and Amex and stuff like that set up in Asian markets is that is the cheapest talent.
Okay.
And we're very upfront. It's like, hey, if you're looking for the cheapest talent, cheapest employee, go to, in order, like India, Pakistan, Philippines. Those are the cheapest offshore markets.
Yeah. They all don't speak English.
No, I didn't say it, but there's pros.
Because I hate those calls. I get mad. Like, don't call me if you don't know how to speak English.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons to those markets. They're very cheap. They're very cost effective. South Africa is more of a premium market. In our business, and what we focus on is like, we don't focus on the call centers. We don't focus on the telemarketers.
Sure.
We focus on knowledge worker roles.
Okay.
These people are your employees. They are part of your team. They are just like if they were sitting in Chicago or New York or Miami or wherever you're based. You should treat them as employees. Their skill level is the same as your employees. And we have found that it has been way better from a client relationship perspective, but also an employee perspective relationship. Like these people we don't want these people to be dispensable. We want these people to be core assets to your company. They're accountants who are helping you with payroll and invoices and accounts receivable. They're marketing people running marketing campaigns. They're salespeople who are running sales pipelines and helping you close deals. They're executive assistants who are jumping on calls and taking notes with you and helping you book appointments and stuff like that. Like these people are integral parts of your business. And I didn't want to get in the dirty world of telemarketing and setting up 100-person.
It was just a question.
Center.
I was just curious.
No, 100%. And that's the thing is a lot of people who know this world have that stigma of the AT&T and the Amexes of the world, which definitely exists. And there's value in those places. Amazon has big support centers like that as well. But that's not the game that we're in. We're in the knowledge worker game. Sure. And I like it better. Our clients like it better. And really that's the niche and focus that we have because, that's what I love it.
Amazing. With that being said, Dan, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about working with Talently?
Yeah, so two things. I would say like one side of it, if anyone wants to just connect personally and is thinking about the entrepreneurship journey, like I love to speak with people and connect with people. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I post a lot of things about my journey and lessons learned on LinkedIn. So it's a good place to be connected there. Daniel Seligman, founder of Talently on LinkedIn. If anyone's interested in the service, our website's hirewithtalently.com. You can also DM me directly on LinkedIn. We'll make sure that we take care of you. When we know that you came from the Label Free podcast, we'll make sure to give you some special treatment. But yeah, going from hirewithtalently.com or connect with me on LinkedIn, Daniel Seligman, founder of Talently on LinkedIn.
Awesome. You guys, I'm going to put those links in the show notes. So if you connected with Dan, go ahead and click those links. Go check him out. Connect with him on LinkedIn. He's got a very impressive following there. So you'll be one of a lot of incredible professionals on LinkedIn that is connected with Dan. Dan, this is part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
Yeah, I hopefully there was some wisdom and advice throughout the conversation. I've learned a ton from you as well. I think the one piece of advice or at least thought that I think everyone should have leaving this, and I think it's helped me a ton in my career, is just try to find the joy in everyday work. Like work is not called fun for a reason. Work isn't supposed to be fun, but if you can find fun and little things, enjoy with that, you're just gonna be a happier person. You're gonna see the light in everything. You're gonna see the silver lining to things that you approach with it. It's just a better life to live. Yeah. And I think my approach to finding joy in what I did has helped me like move into entrepreneurship. I've been successful in business, but people want to surround themselves with optimistic, positive thinking people. No one wants to surround themselves with negative, pessimistic people. And I think the sort of one thought or at least mindset shift is just like, try to find joy in what you do. Even if you don't like what you do, there must be something that will help you get up in the morning and it will make your life better. So a little bit corny, a little bit spiritual, but I think it's hugely valuable to me and hopefully to others.
Well, for sure. I mean, that old saying is, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And so that saying is true for a reason. And so I think that you're not supposed to live a miserable life. That's not what we're created for. And if you're living a miserable life, you've got to change the direction, man, because it is very short. Like, we only have one life on this planet, and make it the best that you can. So
Yeah.
bravo to you, Dan. I love it. I love your story. I love what you created. It's just so incredibly smart. Like, oh boy, I'm sure you're going to continue to blow up and blow up and blow up and solve problems for people globally or companies globally. And I just think it's super savvy. So thank you so much for sharing what you do. And can't wait to watch you.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for having this voice. You're building an incredible brand and audience, and hopefully we can provide some value to them. But great to be connected, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcasts. Live your best life. You must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.